Okay, so we have the same problem, but we have your solution now.
Yes.
So what has changed?
Wait, no, we don't have.
What's the
We do
difference?
not. We do not have universally socialized medicine in this country. There's tons of people, millions of people in this country without
Sure
medicine.
we do. You can walk into
Really?
any hospital today and you will not be kicked out of an emergency
So
room.
why do 35,000 people die every year due to lack of health care? Are they just all
Because
stupid?
they don't walk into an emergency room.
The next topic is kind of broad, but obviously I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this one. So, capitalism, accept the truth, okay? Versus socialism, or some kind of new economic system. And do we really have, like free markets? And is, what we're operating on even still capitalism? So let's go ahead and start with Tiberius.
Oh yeah, of course you would hit me first. All right, so I actually studied in economics, so this one's
You
fun.
seemed excited, so
Yeah, all right. Anyway, so let's do some basic terms here because most people, when they talk about this conversation, have no fucking idea what they're talking about. Capitalism is an economic doctrine that uses financial capital to affect change, right? So this is taking your money, this is investing it in certain ways to actually get changes within the system that you're holding. All right. Now, if you go into socialism, what is the definition of socialism? It is the workers owning and meaning of the workers owning and controlling the means of production, right? So largely that is that they own the factories, they own whatever that they're involved with. That gets them to where they want to go. At least that's the original definition proposed by our good friend Mr. Marx. All right. Do these ideologies work? Do they have problems? Of course, they both do. They both have a lot of shit going on with them. Capitalism seems to be very, very good, especially on the macroeconomic scale. It has a little bit of problems on the micro, but we can get into that as later. Socialism's been bastardized by just about fucking everybody to the point where I don't know why anyone dies to fucking touch it. But just to show you that these ideas are not completely incompatible, there was a doctrine called syndicalism back in the day where they tried to meld the two together. And that's actually an interesting doctrine. I'm going to end with that because I can talk about this forever. Thank you.
Okay, I saw a lot of facial expressions out of Wordy, so we'll go ahead and throw it over to Wordy.
Okay. Yeah, so capitalism, it relies on like privatization, private ownership of the means of production. Well, socialism is like collective ownership of the means of production. That's really like the two like fundamental distinctions, whether or not you have markets or not. I don't know. So like what we're looking at right now is like the biggest proposed model is like a market socialist model. And the problem that comes with market social model is like the whole accumulation of capital. Like while I personally prefer socialism as like the end goal, we have to look at what's feasible right now. And it seems to me a social democratic model, because we understand there are things like market failures that fundamentally fail to address like the inefficiencies in the market. And so we have to use the social democratic model because like we understand like relative to like how much we spend, the effects on like inflation and everything don't seem to be pretty significant. So what we fundamentally need is more spending so we can affect better, like the more money we put into the economy, that generally means the more efficient the economy is. The difficulty that comes is where the money gets pulled out of the economy. It seems to me generally as like we have like a higher level of hierarchy, like organization in society, more money gets pulled towards the top and eventually out of the market. That makes like these constraining pressures between supply and demand. So what we have to ultimately understand is like, while I personally prefer socialism as like the end goal, we have to work through what's feasible, because I'm generally like not in favor of revolution. I think we have to use the reformist model, because if we just like upend everything, things get really fucky. So like basically we have to look at what we feasible, and there's a lot of like good literature and analysis in terms of like a social democratic model.
Okay.
Also, free markets don't exist because any regulation you impose, it kills a free market.
Okay. Hans of Harker.
I don't particularly think we need to reinvent the wheel here. I'm sort of sympathetic to the concept of, say, market socialism. I think that's pretty cool. Having, say, worker-based co-ops sounds fine. There's a bit of like an incentive issue in terms of growing those firms. I haven't really seen good answers for that question. So I think we should obviously use existing market forces, have some basic regulations to make sure everything like is fine, and we tax the shit out of corporations, we tax shit out of rich people to build a robust social welfare state so people can live their best lives, so people can start their own businesses, so people can live extremely good lives of dignity. So most of my issues would say like the farthest like left, or I would say like in particular, hopefully I can, there's like a libertarian here I can make fun of, where you essentially make liberal institutions just with extra steps. So instead of say, oh, having like a system of courts and regulations, we'll have like existing free tribunals of corporations with like private lawyers and private judges. So let's just avoid that. We can have market-based systems. They can be like regulated by governments. And right now, we could fix our system considerably by having considerably more taxation, considerably more redistribution, because inequality in a lot of systems can be tied to instability. So one of the best ways of fixing that, in the words of like French economist Thomas Piketty, is just making sure that we smush the top and we raise the bottom, and everyone will be a lot happier. And we can do that with the basic suck them society. So yeah.
Okay. I'm American Revolution.
Well, I'm probably going to be the oddball out here. I believe there is a difference between capitalism and the free market. The free market is, mom and pop shops, starting businesses, getting them going. Capitalism, I go back to the original definition of the capitalist, somebody who invested money to make money. Originally guys who simply invested in, cattle guy to buy more cattle, let him do his thing, and then pull profits out of it. What is essentially turned into the banking system today, the Wall Street of today. And I am not a fan of those systems. I am a fan of free market. Mom and pops doing business, more community oriented economies. I think that was what our founding fathers fought for, was independence. You cannot have independence if you are dependent on national or global businesses for what you need. You need to be able to have things in your community as much as you can. So, as far as that goes, I am for that. It does touch a little bit into, communes, community living, but no, I'm not for socialist programs.
Okay. Dylan Blake.
I didn't think we'd have a little bit of a ANCAP moment there or anything, but I guess here we go. So I guess what I advocate for in the short term is I have a lot of crazy person end goals. Probably one of the furthest, if not the furthest left person on this panel right now, economically speaking. But what I advocate for in the immediate is investment into the people, kind of a Keynesian economic model in terms of how we spend our money, how we input into the society, and how we control markets in case there's things on the failure fronts like aggregate demand and things of that nature. The worker cooperative model is an incredibly effective model for this kind of thing. We see, again, this is sort of a more liberal approach to collectivizing the means of production, because if we look at like the actual definitions of socialism and we actually look at the definitions of capitalism, basically they're two conflicting economic models. One's grounded in the private ownership of the means of production. The other one's grounded in a collective or group ownership of the means of production. Depends on which strand of socialism you adhere to. I personally adhere to the ideals of workers and proletarians owning the means of production. Yeah, I'm a Marx reader. Fucking eat my ass, okay? So basically, I'm going to come out here and say, yeah, in the short term, we need that suck dem society that Hans was talking about. I think it's a pretty good idea in terms of actually raising and increasing living standards for people. I'd like to collectivize the means of production. I'd like to proliferate group ownership of property, so that way people actually reap the fruits of their labor instead of just handing it all over to capitalists. What I will say, though, is what American Rev was talking about there, that is what capitalism does, the consolidation of monopoly, capital into monopolies and organizations of that nature. It's just inherent to the thing. So I'd love to deal with the whole I'd love this utopia of mom and pop shops and a free market, but I just don't know how feasible that is in terms of actually doing that without government regulation and economic regulations of the sort. If we have to get into why worker cooperatives are an effective model, I'll do that. I've got various studies and data and information that I can show on this thing, because I'm all about, especially in first world countries, a transitory stage towards a social end goal or a socialist end goal, because my big issue is anyone who's an advocate for revolutionary socialism doesn't understand the immediate consequences that's going to have on the living conditions of people who live in America today. So I'm going to start there for now. And if we have to get into the fancy economic shit, I will, because this is like literally the one thing I talk about. That's it. I don't talk about anything else. That's why I just shut the fuck up and sat the fuck back for the last topic. But now I'm going full gorilla mode and I'm unleashing the chains. And yeah, I'm going to come out here and I'm fucking take heads and break beds. So here we go.
Okay. Don't break anybody else's bed. Okay, that's their.
What's your
personal
opinion
property.
on couch breaking?
I don't know. Ask Mike from
Okay.
PA.
I went
Dylan
to my girlfriend's last
Burns.
week and I
No
Stop
pitied
one
her
it.
cares. No one
family.
cares.
Stop it. Okay. Dylan Burns, go ahead. Round us out.
I think you're all wrong. I think we need to bring back feudalism. You can trace back my roots to Scottish royalty, and I think I'm better than basically all of you. I'm a liberal elitist. I live on the coast, so I think I'm better than anybody in a flyover state. And so I think you should all be my subjects anyway. But for real though, I don't really care about capitalism versus socialism. I don't think that's the thing the majority of Americans care about. I guess I'm just not that deep in economic theory. I believe unions should dominate the economy, and I think worker co-ops are pretty cool. I'm a huge supporter of them. I defended the University of Maryland's worker co-op as the university tried to shut them down and tried to work with the mayor to save it. Unsuccessfully, but I do care a lot about local worker co-ops. And I think that we should see more of them on the local level because I do believe that people should be able to have a say in how they say in their workplace, because if you work at a place all day and that's going to be what, like 1/3 of your life, I think you should have a democratic say in it, and I like democracy.
All right. Well, I completely misjudged where everybody stood on this. So awesome. With that being said, let's go into fucking open.
So I guess like a starting question for like both Dylans, right? Like I also like worker co-ops. How do y'all square issues of getting larger firms? Like if say you have like 10 people who start a co-op and they all equally own like stake in that company, as it grows their shares become more diluted unless it's like more value per person. How can you encourage like worker co-ops to grow in the same way that traditional firms are? Because that's one of like the circles I can't square in terms of like having them as the only say mode of like existing corporations. I'm in favor of say economic policy that incentivizes them, that provides them like say government like back loans or favorable economic policy to encourage them. But I don't see how we can say replace all of our firms with them, because like in the same way that we all just like made fun of American Rev's mom and pop utopia, like a big thing about having large corporations is that it's awesome in terms of the economies of scale. We can get a lot of shit very efficiently by making our corporations larger. This isn't saying we should have omnicorps of everything, but having say a few large actors who can compete with each other and are well regulated and hopefully maybe even democratized is more effective than say having a bunch of super tiny co-ops that are all like dealing with their local areas. Because we all love our local bakery, but if we want the same like say services as Amazon, we either need to make it a government service or we need to allow corporations to exist in a large capacity.
Okay. I mean, for me, I'm like fine with government-backed subsidies for worker co-ops. I'm fine with basically local governments prioritizing worker co-ops for renting out space, because of course, like local governments will fight to actually get like local places staffed by businesses. I think they should prioritize making sure those businesses could be worker co-ops. Now, in the majority of cases, right now, it's not really feasible. That like the majority, like when you prioritize like worker co-ops, because the majority of people trying to rent businesses are not renting worker co-ops. Most Americans are not even really necessarily familiar with the worker co-op model. But like where it's possible, I'd be perfectly fine with it. So I mean, I'm fine with the government supporting it, even to its detriment, because I believe that workers should have a say in their.
I will say there's a couple things we need to talk about right away when we're talking about worker cooperatives. Worker cooperatives are just on the up and up as far as economic, modes of doing business go. Right now, 9% of businesses in the United States and 5% of businesses in Canada right now are functioning cooperatives. In America, they hold over $3 trillion in assets, which is no small feat if this wasn't a good economic model, to say the least. As far as getting larger corporations to democratize, I think something we should really emphasize in terms of this is sort of proliferating employee shared or stock ownership models, depends on what you want to call it. As far as that goes, there's really strong correlations between workplace happiness, productivity raising, lower turnover rates, things like that, when we actually look at ownership and how it goes involved with a, employee's work life. So I think those are things we can get right off there, right out of the way. I've got sources for all this stuff if anyone needs to see it. As far as co-ops go and diluting stock ownership and things like that for, if more people want to bring in employees, the sort of running narrative I have with this is people basically bring in according to need. If profits, if they have X amount of profit, they obviously want to hire on more people to meet that sort of demand because their labor is going to be more valuable according to how much they need to produce in a given amount of time. Usually this is a decision going to be made by either someone that they democratically put into a position of hiring and firing in terms of who they want to bring in, or if it's small enough, like 10 people, they probably collectively decide who to bring into the company, right? There's a myriad of ways. Yeah, I'm bringing out the word myriad. Haven't heard that one in a while, so I will throw that one out there today. Of ways that employees can get involved, whether it's through buying indirectly, which is a little bit of a more difficult thing for some people to do. You can, again, do a gradual stock owner or payment plan with your, employer. If they want to start you with a certain amount of stock and then sort of have you work your way into owning it. That's again, I kind of like the employee stock ownership plan thing. I think that's a really effective way of getting shares of companies into workers' hands.
So for that, then you say expand, say ownership of the company. If there's 8 people, make the 100%, and we bring on 2 more people, we won't give them equal share. We'll give them a partial share, and they'll work their way into becoming more.
I mean, you can do that as a method of starting, especially in the experimental or early phases of a company, where sort of you need to figure out how to get someone involved with your business, right? I think that's an important thing to get out of the way. You don't know if you're going to want to have this person working with you permanently. So,
right. Can I hop in here? I want to personally say a few things. So while I agree with the end goal of socialism.
Hey chat, you know what? I have a different economic model to promote, and that is you guys gifting subs, donating, and subscribing to the channel, and supporting the content we're putting out there right now, okay? That's my economic model. Above all else, above worker co-ops, above socialism, above capitalism, that is the number 1 priority that we need to deal with.
Accumulation and in terms of productivity, right? There's in comparisons to similar levels, but in terms of applying to scale, it seems to be mixed in terms of evidence. I also do want to ask a question to you, Rev. How do you deal with market failures?
What are you talking about?
Market failures, the uneven meeting between supply and demand. Basically, if a company is in charge of providing goods, and then there's a higher demand, or there's an unequal supply available to the people, how do you deal with those market failures?
Talking in my utopian dream?
No, I'm asking in just general practicality, the Pareto distribution is generally the cited term. How do you deal with market failures without government regulation?
You assume the people just die, right? Like mom and pop and the commune starve.
Oh, come on. Does he warrant the straw man yet?
I mean, in a community, you're going to have, you're going to start building apprenticeships. People are going to be learning what somebody else did. They're going to.
Sorry, I just want to specify here. The problem that comes even in a local community is the market failure. If you're a healthcare provider in a local community, you have a greater influence on the market in that local area. And the problem comes as we see is small businesses, as much as we may emotionally say they're nice, they suck in comparison to big businesses. They just do. They're not as effective. That's why they lose every time. We have to understand, even if we emotionally want these smaller businesses, they suck. They just do. This whole argument of saying they're more effective economically, they're not. If they were, they wouldn't succeed in the cases of natural monopolies.
Yeah, small businesses are wholesome and all, but the thing is we need to realize that because of the failure of initial investment capital, they're not really going to get off the ground or go very far.
Yeah, so let me ask you about market failures again. How do you deal with market failures?
Mm-hmm.
Market failures are handled by trade. They're handled by apprenticeships. They're handled by moving population. I mean,
but we've had that before.
How do you apprenticeship your way out of not having any food?
Stop. Okay.
Cage match?
You can call a cage match if you want. That's fine.
Why are you raising your hand? Just say it.
Cage match!
Yeah, call your cage match.
I would like to fight this man. He is bothering me.
Wait. Dylan Blaze said cage match, and then you said something. Okay, who wants to call a cage match?
I am the cage match man.
Okay,
wait, I can do more than one?
Who's calling a cage match with?
Rev. Because we need to talk about some things really quickly there. Statements like that just get my little Dylan Blaze blood boiling. Wait.
Let me start my fucking timer. Okay.
All right, Nacho. Do you think?
All right, go ahead.
So, like, let's take a second here to talk about market price signaling, right? I feel like this is a problem we're going to run into when we talk about how you want to handle market failures. The problem with that is when we see market failures routinely addressed by people like Austrian economists and things of that nature, they don't actually get handled by any other response other than free market. Let's let the free market work. But what I'm trying to address here is basically there's a better alternative method in terms of like artificial stimulation into the economy in terms of things like the government spending increases there through taxation and things like that are just generally more effective of picking up the rate at which the economy moves. Because if we look at the way that money, goes around, we transfer sort of money through the hands of the people, because the goal of money is to make sure that it maintains movement as a commodity, right? So if I take money as a commodity, it has value, it has a universal value, and what I want this commodity to do is trade in order to acquire goods. If you have market failures, or you have sort of talking about this moving population thing, which is kind of what I wanted to address, market failures don't often meet the expectations and failures of moving populations. Things like that are often slow for startups. We have to deal with a lot of communities that don't get addressed, particularly where I'm at. I'm here up in the Great White North of Canada. So what we have is huge failures on the front of providing services to Indigenous people that just markets have been unable to produce, to make sure that they have things like basic access to any type of commodities, failures to access healthcare, because a lot of them do believe that they live on their sacred land and things of that nature that's just inherent to the culture, can't get them to move. And the only types of things we see going out that way in terms of the market moving is oil pipelines. Hiccups, my bad. Markets have only brought us oil. And I don't know if you've got any type of response to this addressal of the failures of the market in terms of providing resources effectively to people, because it just seems like markets move and the only price signal they get is in terms of what's most profitable. So, like, how do we address that big problem?
They do actually handle themselves. They have for millennia. This is how communities
for millennia.
No, communities have that supported themselves and were able to handle themselves. For millennia, they were able to provide food for themselves.
This is my cage match.
For millennia, people were able to provide food for themselves and their communities, provide clothing and everything else. We do have advanced technologies now that would provide more easily for people. But honestly, I believe a lot of that has taken away, and that's why depression, suicide rates, and everything else are up so high, because people are running a hamster wheel of working a job to pay for shit that they could just do themselves.
Well, I feel like a big issue you're coming into here is you're failing to acknowledge the universal benefits that global trade has had on our society at large and more broadly. Yeah, absolutely.
I agree that there has been.
So economies thrive, right? Economies thrive very, very much so thanks to global trade, and communal societies are on nothing but a decline. And we just see that again, sort of global trade and trade across nations and things like that is actually bringing up qualities of life for people in terms of actually meeting physical quality of life standards, which is kind of what I'm having an issue with here. This idea, it sounds nice. I love the, primitive communal society that makes their clothes themselves, and but all we see that in anymore is like literally fucking Amish country.
And it works quite well for them, quite honestly.
When you remember that they're using technology that's like 150 years behind, they have nothing post-industrial revolution that isn't brought in from, again, neighboring areas. Like certain Amish communities do use cars and things of that nature. Where do cars come from? Well, trucks, things like that they do for work don't come from within the Amish communities.
A few of them, not many.
Right. So a lot of
some
Amish
of them
people
do.
use
A lot
trucks.
of them do buggies. All of the ones around here use buggies and horse.
And the ones that get things done more effectively, I mean, you can like compare these things to, like similar groups like Mennonites. And you can see that, thanks to having trucks and technology in their communities, they're able to work much faster, get much more done. This technology has been nothing but a net positive. And really, realistically speaking, this communal living.
Been a net positive, because the world seems pretty shit on a humanity level.
the world is very shit on a humanity
Yeah,
level, and what we
and
need to do to
I think
address
that's
this.
directly tied one to the other.
All right. With that, that's the end of the round. Okay, humanity is shit. All right. Go ahead. The rest of the panel can hop
All
in.
right.
They'll be meeting for 3 minutes.
Yeah. So, okay, Tiberius.
What's up, buddy?
So, how do you? So you're talking about like in terms of like some level of social safety net. So, like, let me ask you a question. Where's your line? Where does it stop?
Oh God, that's hard to figure out, to be honest, because there's some levels where I just can't really put it through the ethical calculator and for it to come out in any kind of reasonable way. Here's where I like try to emphasize where I try to de-emphasize. Right, I think a lot of the social democracy stuff doesn't work that well. It keeps people afloat, and Dylan actually talked about this earlier, which he's not wrong. But the problem is that I'm going to be incredibly jaded here, but I think this is my actual take: is that more often than not, yeah, you can put people at a higher standard level, but if you don't actually invest in them in the ways that are going to help them, pre-K through post-grad education, getting them trades, getting them economic bargaining power, then they're fucked. And you're only just going to pass that buck down another generation. So if you want me to eat the bullet, because I know you're going to like litmus test me here, I'll say this. I'd rather this generation just not get the fucking help so we can invest in the next generation.
Well,
and I've openly said,
no, God, no.
Okay.
Okay, wait.
Wait, hold on.
Cage
Before
match.
we continue, we have. All right.
He
We
called
have
it
the interim hippy dippy champion waiting to debate destiny has decided to crash the American Octagon.
oh,
Oh,
the
God.
in the flesh.
Hi,
uh,
CTV.
CTV.
Is here to give us his takes on capitalism versus socialism versus communism, etc. So, yeah, you're in, buddy.
Well, one thing you got to know right off the bat is that you cannot rush excellence.
Or rush shitty
Take
computers.
your time, man.
You can't rush excellence.
Or shitty cameras.
I've got more things to view me optically through than you even thought about. Okay.
Maybe we don't want them.
Well, that'd be a you problem and not a me problem. So why are you talking about it?
CTV, is it like a new camera setup? It's like, it looks like you have your desk on the other side. Or do you just have like a
True.
different, yeah.
It is a nice camera. I'll
He
say
didn't
that.
move the camera. He moved the desk every stream.
Oh, okay.
Every stream. It's just like inch by inch.
Pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm having to adjust my stream here. All right, so we're talking about capitalism versus socialism.
what's
Obviously,
a
yes,
Pareto
sir.
distribution, CTV?
What's a what?
What's a
a TIF?
Pareto distribution?
Okay. Next time you go to the $10 store to buy a word, how about you buy one that will actually be able to be
what the-
used in a conversation?
Damn.
Okay?
What's a Pareto distribution?
He got you there, man.
Yeah.
True.
Okay, so how do you deal with the inequality between like corporations and consumers?
By making good laws.
Good, I agree.
So you support government regulation.
Based! Sock them,
Based,
CTV.
sock
coming
them,
in.
rising.
No, it's just about making good laws, right? That can be for even conservatives believe that there should be a certain amount of government. I'm not a fucking anarchist, right?
I know, we were making fun of like a minarchist. Like, I don't know what Rev is. He's like some flavor of like
Libertarian.
Like all the different flavors of right. He's
Wait,
he's
why is
all
he
of them.
muted? Shit, you guys are on mute, by the way.
Yay.
I called
So,
a cage
wait,
match
That was way
earlier.
too long.
I was wondering if we are gonna get back down to that.
How many
Okay,
cage?
so-
By the way, how many cage
Match.
matches do we get? Do we get one
You
per
get
topic?
one.
Or just one
You
the
get
whole
one,
show?
yeah.
You only get. I thought it was
Wait,
one
wait,
per
wait,
topic,
wait,
and I
wait.
wasted mine.
You know what? Fuck it. All right, well,
Another,
because
another reason why Dylan Burns
I-
the Happy Dippy cage
All right,
matches are better.
Wordy.
Dylan gives us 2 cage matches, Mom. Can I have another cage match? Like,
Jesus Christ,
Stop.
Wordy, go
that's in a
out.
1v1. Okay?
Okay.
Stop.
Yeah, yeah.
That's in a 1v1. Okay, hold on. All right, there we go.
Wait, I just dropped down from the
So-
rafters. Don't I get a cage match?
Nope.
You have your cage matches, okay? Relax. Everybody just calm down, all right? This is not the time for revolution, okay?
not
Viva
to
la
lose control of the
revolution!
panel.
Overthrow the octagon!
Stop it, okay? There's no, you're all
I'm-
divided against each other here, okay?
I'm feeling like
Dylan-
the Iron Fist falls a little bit harder on the hippy dippy right now. I'm just saying.
And, I mean, I could start muting people, but Dylan, you still have your cage match. Hans, you know what? We'll do a second one for this topic because there's only 2 topics tonight, and because they were really broad topics. Okay, so yeah. Go
Okay.
ahead. Who did you want a cage match? Let's go.
Tiberius.
Let's go, buddy.
Okay, let's
Okay.
go.
So,
Cage
like,
match, starting it off.
Yeah. So let me ask you specifically. So like,
What's up, man?
here's the issue. Like, if you don't invest in this generation, you know what happens is they aren't as well able to take care of the next generation. You fundamentally need good parents in order to help promote better education. So you need the education and like investment into this current generation. Seems kind of like
Yeah,
like
the
a
problem.
little genocidal.
Don't overthrow me on that one, but the problem is this bitch gets Ouroboros, right? Like, if you don't have anyone to take care of mom, the kid suffers. But if you overinvest in mom, then the kid doesn't get shit, right? Like, that's the problem that we have with any kind of organized society, is that we have to pick and choose who gets investments where, when, and how, right? So I'm not going to say that you're wrong and to throw me at that, where it's like, whoa, dude, don't fucking let mom starve, because you're right. And actually, Dylan actually hit this earlier, right? Some of these things work far better than others. As an example, I'm sorry, Dylan Burns. Burns hit this earlier. You know, one of the biggest things that we've seen is not only just engaging with funding education, but if we make sure that the kids are fed while they're at an education, their test scores go up by like 10% or 20% across the board, right? So there's obviously points where we want to judge the effectiveness on this. Now, where I'm getting at is that if I have to take and pick and choose between who gets first picking, it's going to be young people, you know, people under 20. Because they are going to be the priority. If I have to sacrifice my livelihood for theirs, I'm going to fucking do it. Because my livelihood right now is nowhere near as important as what theirs is going to be for the rest of their lives. Because that's usually the numbers that you're playing with here. Is that if I provide pre-K through post-grad education, instead of Tiberius getting his Social Security when he turns 65, which is going to have a far more better impact for our society overall.
Yeah.
It's gonna be that. It's gonna be the education.
Why do you have to pick though?
Wait, hey, it's a cage match. So we have to realize though is like,
Tons, help me out, okay?
like here's the issue is like how much we're actually spending does not even like come close to like how much we could potentially spend. Like I don't know where that limit is, but it like basically like as I understand it, it's really how much resources are available and not necessarily how much we spend. So like like just to say though is like, why do we have to choose? Why don't we do both? Like increase capital gains tax, get more like available, like kill our debt a little bit better. This way we can like use more of our resources more efficiently. Like it feels like we don't have to make a choice here. It feels like we just do both.
Okay, so there's definitely levels where we can choose and where we can't choose and all that. So let me get you into this, right? We have the biggest government by spending in the world, right? We actually have the biggest social institution in the world. It's called Social Security. Spends over $2.2 trillion every single year, right? We're not doing very good for having the world's biggest social safety net in history. Why? Why is that? Because it doesn't invest in the people it needs to invest. It doesn't invest in people who are young, who are trying to grow and develop. It actually steals from them. It's like, hey, once you get to the workforce, give me about 3% of your payroll tax so that we can invest in old people who don't actually, you're not going to do anything for them.
No, I have to interrupt you here. So like,
Yeah,
here's
go
the
ahead.
problem. Like, here's the problem is like it's proportion, right? We look at OECD countries like with larger social safety nets is proportionally they're more effective because they're more like comprehensive, right? Like here's the issue with like it's basically the whole means tested to universal programs. Means tested basically like cut out a lot of people in the process, and you know what happens is it raises the premiums for the people who are covered, and then the other people who aren't covered get fucked. And like you can say like not caring for like the older generation, but fundamentally, if you are working now and you're old, you don't want to be fucked when you're younger or older. You want to be taken care of because you did and invested in your economy.
Okay, so there's a part where I'll meet you halfway on this. Number one is that if means testing is shit. Either if you're going to have a social program, you go all in. It's available for anyone, everyone, rich or poor. Having a means test usually just puts a lid on it to the fact where you can't escape it or you don't want to escape it because I'll lose my benefits. That kind of a mentality. Terrible. Don't do it. The other side of that is that where I don't agree with you is that, yeah, we have these social democracies of Europe. They're praised as like the paradise of what the United States needs to be. What's the reality? They're having their middle classes shrink too.
They're so much better than ours is, though.
Yeah, it's on life support in the same ways that ours is just dying.
That's because they haven't invested in years. But when they how much they invested is bringing back gains now.
Yeah, you're not gonna sell me on that, dude. Like, what the problem here is that I keep consistently seeing is they want to spend more and more and more on keeping people afloat instead of investing in people in the here and now. And granted, some of their education systems are better. I'm 100% with that. But here's the number one thing that you need to do to hit the balance of power between the rich and the poor is that you've got to end fucking free trade. You got to stop letting Wall Street get fucking rich off of sending all the jobs to China so they can sell them back to you at a discounted price while you keep losing your middle class and income jobs that allows you to build up your family, to build out your institutions, and build out your society. This is
That's
a
why-
fucking disaster.
That's why you use capital gains tax, because we realize we're the majority
No,
of.
no. All this does is that it changes the economic engine. Where like, hey, rich people, you're getting more money, so we're going to take it from you. Instead of making the balance of power where they have to pay workers a bare income when they're here in the United States.
You can do both. The problem comes is when you start building up unions. We see as like became unpopular, like more corporations pulled out of like this whole process. Like we can do both. We can offset the unfruct costs.
All right. That's it. That's the end of the cage match. Everybody else is unmuted. Let's go. All right. I saw Hans with a lot of facial expressions, so say what you need to say, buddy.
Yeah, so he can't respond, so I feel kind of bad about this. But Tiberius, what the fuck?
You can respond if you call him into a cage match, okay?
Like specifically, I'll give him a second. Like I want to gauge other people's opinion before I waste my final cage match because I feel like you're not gonna give me a third one. You don't have to make all of social programs all or nothing. If we're having if we're making sure that people don't starve, you can just say, hey, we're gonna set up like a limit.
I'm calling a cage match. I'm the moderator. I'm calling a cage match between Tiberius and Hans. Okay?
All right, great. Tiberius, that was the dumbest fucking thing I've ever fucking heard. What do you? Nothing.
Hans, shut the fuck up, okay? For just a minute, all right? Relax, okay? I have to mute everybody, okay? All right, let me fix this, okay? All right, your timer started. All right.
You guys having fun? I have a cage match. I'm gonna use it against American Rev. I'm excited.
Like if you're asking about we have to pick one person. I think it's because we either have to give Social Security to fucking everybody and fucking food stamps to fucking everybody. We can just have a broad-based social program to bring people up to a certain level, and if you're above that, you either don't get it or you can have it taxed back out. Why do we have to do everything is universal? Because I like universal programs, but the idea that you have to do everything as a universal program is so fucking stupid. Why would we do that?
Why would you do that? Is because every time you set that limiter, that makes people not want to get past the limiter, right? So if you're like, hey, look, you can't qualify this unless you have less than $20,000, that means that whoever qualifies for that program no longer wants to make more than $20,000 a year. Now, you can do that for any level that you want. You can do it for 30K, 40K, 50K. Here's the reality. At what point that you do allow a program that actually invests in people and gives them what they need, why would you take that off the table for anyone and everyone? It's fair, it's equitable, it's reasonable. Fucking go at it.
He just complained about us not having enough resources for everything. So it feels really, really odd. We will give everyone literally everything and say we have to pick between the old people and the young people. When does this magical social safety net that covers absolutely everyone start? Do we say fuck people living now, fuck grandmas? What's the cap? I want to know what year this starts. How fucked am I, right?
All right, cool. No. All right, calm your shit down. Let me hit you with this. All right, cool. What's more effective for the common person? Social Security or a fucking UBI? A UBI, because everyone's going to get it. Not saying that I'm for that, but in a general sense here is that, yeah, we do have to pick and choose who gets what, but I'm not saying that you have to go all right, cool. You can say all these people don't get this versus all these people get this. What you can say is all these people get this program. You want your socialized healthcare? Guess what? I'll trade you for it. We get rid of Social Security. I'll sign on it tomorrow.
That's great. I'm happy that we can get Medicare for all, but that doesn't matter in this specific context. A lot of times when we're making social safety nets, and this is a really big problem. I'm happy that you're really based and socialized on this one, but for most conservatives, it is a fucking struggle just to get them to give any measure of a shit about the basic people that are already left out by society. The old people, the sick people, the young people, the people without providers. Those are people that we're already trying to take care of, and we're already fucking failing at that. If we're trying to raise the cap to a certain level, we would have to raise it so exponentially high to make sure that every person has the substantial thing that we either have to completely redo how we do all of our distribution, all of our tax systems. And when sounds fine in a utopian-based system, but again, you already said there's not enough money. So what are we supposed to find enough? Unless we're just gonna have a massive oh hey take this and then we'll tax it back later. Why don't we just say, hey, if you make above a certain amount, we'll stop giving you the money? And you say like there's an incentive, but I would much prefer like a system where we don't have to like give a shit ton of money to everybody just to tax it immediately back out, as opposed to saying, hey, if you say make less than 50, like say 50, 60K, just give the money up to 50, 60K. And I am in favor of that policy. I am like, I've been on the record saying like, I would love if every like the standard in America is like 60K, 70K, 80K, and like raise it to like, it seems like happiness like caps out at about 100K, like in terms of US dollars. I would love to try and raise that standard to 100K. But if you make more than that, then like you're fucking fine. I don't know why we got to do like this mastered like tax system as opposed to just raising people up to like a really solid baseline.
Okay, so this is why I don't believe in the social democratic model, is because I don't believe that you can just raise everybody up to that fucking baseline, dude. So like you have to pick which ones you're gonna do and which ones work. All right. So
you just picked everybody. Like what do you mean?
No. All right, dude, you're smarter than this. Like stop doing this for real. All right. So here's the reality, right? If I say that this program is for anybody and everybody, that does not mean that all programs are for anybody and everybody, or we're going to have that program.
So some are still means tested. So we're just doing means
no,
tested.
Some don't exist. All right. I openly said I will trade you Social Security for socialized healthcare. What does that mean? Social Security doesn't exist anymore. We took literally the biggest social welfare program in human history and we put it to something else because we think it's going to work better. Is that really that hard for you to understand, dude? Because you're really wetter than this.
What I don't understand is that we already, like what we pay in Social Security, a lot of old people still struggle with poverty. So you're telling me we're going to take that and in your limited like money mindset, we're going to evenly distribute it to everybody. And those old people still won't be starving? Are we saying we're taking that base level and we're giving it to everybody? Because that sounds fucking cool as shit, but it doesn't seem like our institutions can fund that because people are complaining about funding Social Security and people don't want to raise taxes to fund Social Security. I want to raise those taxes. But we're saying we're going to find the money to give everybody the equivalent of what we're giving like Social Security to elderly people right now. Because again, when I'm thinking of a welfare state, I'm trying to bring people up to a baseline and take care of the most vulnerable in society. And that's where we do first. And then we try and raise everybody up. That's what we do. Saying
all right, that is the end of the cage match. All right, everybody else is getting unmuted right now. Clearly, CTV's Pringles and cheese sandwich crushed that cage match. So, yeah.
Cage match, American Revolution.
All right. Holy shit, dude. This is nonstop. All right. This is what the people want. All right. This is why you're here. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
So earlier, okay, there's two things I need to ask you about. The first thing has to do with the idea that like, well, people used to take care of each other in olden times, and no, though they if any history, you study any history book. Like, a great example would be Social Security. Before Social Security, if you were elderly, you didn't have kids, you're fucked. You're just basically going to suffer in poverty. That there was an extremely high rates of homelessness among the elderly, for example. If you look at like any like study of ancient Europe, I mean the common beggar is not like a rare occurrence. I mean, poverty was a staple of medieval Europe all the way up into modern ages. The question is now that we have more tools to deal with it. So I'll just ask, like, what did you mean by that?
Well, I mean, your example, you're talking about like in London. You're not talking about like out in farm country where they have children and grandchildren who are taking care of them. They had brutal poverty in farm country as well. I mean, if you look at, for example, Russia, for example, which had farm country, a lot of, I mean, the peasantry of the farm country was actually the staple of them was being poor. It was like something like everyone knew about the Russian farmers. Yeah, and they managed to survive. Maybe not at a high level because of the climate they were in, but yeah, they did survive.
Isn't that like a low bar though? I know drug addicts that survive and are homeless, right? But like if the standard is alive or dead, like yes, I will say that that throughout human history people survived. Also, other people did die of poverty, of not being able to pay enough money to get medical services. If you're a Russian rural person and you got sick, right? You're fucked. I mean, we talk about today, most Americans can't afford a $400 emergency. If you're a Russian rural person, like soon before the Russian Revolution, for example, you're screwed. You just die. You get sick, you die. And a lot of it was preventable diseases that could have been dealt with preemptively or could have been dealt with even after the fact, but they just didn't have the money for it.
And we're talking tent cities today. We're talking mass homelessness in almost every major city. I mean, you're talking with all of this technology, none of that has changed. We still have the same problems today.
Yeah, I
The
think that
difference is today we walk by them and don't give a shit, where previously their kids and their grandkids were at least trying to take care of them.
I mean, again, I would point towards the high rate of homelessness of the elderly, for example, which is much higher before Social Security than after Social Security, which shows that there was actually a fair amount of people who let their grandma rot. And if they don't have kids, then nobody cares and they rotted anyway. The churches
Again,
did their
city.
best, but they didn't have the resources.
You're talking in big cities. You're not talking in rural areas where they actually don't need the money to do it because they can grow their own food. When you have the opportunity to actually grow food on your own land, it's much harder to starve.
If you're a 90-year-old woman, you can't push a plow.
No, but your son can.
Again, I'm saying, if their son is gone or they don't have a son and they're dead, you're fucked, and that's when the state should intervene, right?
I mean, personally, I don't believe in the state intervening. I think it should be
So
from
grandma
local
dies.
communities. No, I believe that charity is the correct answer.
So why was there so many instances of very poor people catching diseases that are completely preventable and dying?
Why are there now?
Well, because the state is not intervening and we don't have socialized medicine.
Okay, so we have the same problem, but we have your solution now.
Yes.
So what has changed?
Wait, no, we don't have.
What's the
We do
difference?
not have universally socialized medicine in this country. There's tons of people, millions of people in this country without medicine.
Sure we do. You can walk into any hospital today and you will not be kicked out of an emergency
So
room.
why do 35,000 people die every year due to lack of health care? Are they just all stupid?
Because they don't walk into an emergency room.
Well, is it maybe due to the fact that they don't want to burden their entire family
Why is there a massive unemployment rate when we have 11 million open jobs?
Well,
I mean, it's the same question.
Well, right now, actually, we do have a labor shortage right now, but we do need an unemployment rate because we need there needs to be unemployed people in this country because there needs to be like transitional people from go in and out of employment so the country can function. If there's no unemployed people, then you're screwed as a country. But when it comes to, which is different than say medical care, whereas in there's millions of Americans who can't get medical care. And let me ask you this question then, right? I had to get medical care not so long ago.
Can't get or choose not to.
Who can't get medical?
Because anybody can walk into an emergency room.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
I got a medical bill not too long ago. It was $10,000.
All right, and that is it for the cage match. Okay.
Can I at least finish my question?
Unfortunately,
Come on.
I was actually waiting to hear that question, but also there was a lot of books flexing going on in the background. Okay.
Sherry, I didn't think we were flexing.
Wait, hold on. Before we get somebody else calls a fucking cage match, all right? Let's go around the room. All right, everybody who's making facial expressions. Let's start with Wordy and then Hans, and then we're gonna go to the Alpha Wolf himself to dip his toes in this conversation.
Here's what's going to happen. It's called funding social safety nets good, helping everybody good. Make sure you give everybody a baseline level and improve people's lives from there. That's basically it. Also, no one cares about old political theory. They're dead. They had stupid ideas. No one cares. Move on.
Okay, dead people's ideas are shitty. Hans.
I left after the guy said like the 9-year-old woman has to magic up a son to push the plow. I couldn't take it anymore. I'm sorry. I learned more from watching like Dylan just hold up books than I did from listening to Rev talk, and I feel really bad. I was gonna pick up my couch, but I don't want to throw up my back. I didn't know what to do.
Fine. Okay,
also, I want it to be said. People are talking shit about my books. All right.
Okay, just to clarify, my question. 1 second. Let me try to remember what my question was. I already lost it. My question had to do specifically with the fact that I had a very large medical bill, and there's many people in this country who do not have the privilege, since the majority of Americans can't afford a $400 emergency. My medical bill ended up being $1,500 because thankfully I have insurance. Now let's say I didn't have insurance, it'd be $10,000. Most Americans cannot just drop a $10,000 bill out of nowhere on their family. And so many Americans don't get the preventative care that would be necessary in order for them to not get diseases like cancer. So my question is, how do you deal with that issue in your system? Also, it's kind of weird to hear him talk about hey, well, I don't want the state to get involved, even though his out of this is, well, they could just walk into a hospital. The reason why hospitals are mandated to treat patients is because the state has mandated that. If the state didn't mandate that, then there would be a lot of poor people to walk into hospitals and just get turned away. And in fact, that used to be what would happen.
Place eating. I don't know what in the fuck you're thinking, but
Mm.
you can come. I'll let you know when I'm ready.
Mm. So
My God.
Oh, I feel so bad for Nacho. Like, you doing okay, buddy? You're doing a great job, right? Don't let anyone
Yeah,
tell you.
we love you. We just like abusing you.
no, I hate all of you tonight. Okay.
Good. Yeah, fuck you too.
No,
buddy.
this is good.
Why didn't I talk about the city stuff? I was going to get to, like, what about cities then? If you just think that rural communities somehow are perfect, which is not true. We could talk about rural broadband and how Biden's addressing that and how rural communities will certainly have poverty. I have a lot of family in West Virginia. I consider West Virginia a home away from home, and the poverty there can be crippling as people drink cold water. So quite unsettling. But, like, yeah, eventually I was going to get to it, but, like, what's the point? If like all of his points are bad, I can only address so many of them.
Learning modern economics. If you want to be the best socialist you can,
Dylan,
you
you're
learn
back in, by
modern
the way.
economic theory and basically Piketty, all those people, modern monetary theory. There's some issues with that, but yeah, like basically we understand. Like, basically work towards worker co-ops. Don't try to like implement them through like government mandates because that creates issues. And then more social democratic models. Like at the end of the day, I don't feel like we have to like give one or take the other because I feel like how much we're spending is not even comparable to how much we could spend. We have a lot of resources. We don't leverage them enough.
I just
So-
really wanted a second to scream about the Russian peasantry because holy fuck did the shit I hear was wrong. Oh my sweet bejesus Lord and Savior in
okay.
the sky.
Okay, can I add? Wait, are you gonna dispute that they were poor, or what do you?
No, I'm not going to dispute you. I'm going to dispute
Okay,
Buddy
got
over
it.
here saying
Hold on.
grandma should push a plow.
It seems like a dodge. Do I need to call a
Hey.
cage match?
Look, it almost sounded tanky.
Some Dylan on Dylan violence. When will we
I
find
will
a
go
cure?
tanky mode.
Like-
I will go tanky mode.
No.
Why?
No.
Why is that
I'm
a
going to do the
threat?
tanky defense.
What do you
match.
mean? Like,
I'm going to
Yeah.
play tanky defense.
It's like
You know
saying
what?
I'm gonna go fascist over here.
All right, Dylan on Dylan. Cage match. Let's go.
He said Dylan on Dylan, so it's
Yeah, why?
We're cage matching.
Yeah,
I don't know. You said you were gonna go full tank. You were Dylan Blade. This was you.
Well, I'm going to go. I didn't call like a cage match or anything, but if I have
I
to go
called the
full-
cage match. I'm the
Well,
moderator.
but we don't even. He said he didn't.
Yeah, I don't
disagree
think
with
we
me.
disagree with
Doesn't
him.
disagree
Like,
with me.
bruh.
Well, now
I
we're
can
just
go
gonna sit
full
here
fucking
awkwardly for 5 minutes. Then
I mean, I can go full tanky if I have to.
you
Like,
said you were gonna go gorilla ape suit on him.
Push the plow, Grandma. Anyway,
I heard you.
Look, I don't think we disagree, so I don't know why the cage match is about.
I was going to say, I don't think we
Well,
have to play
this
this
is right,
right
up
now.
Dylan Burns' cycle of or flavor of.
Okay, well, I will do
comedy
since
right
I have the platform. I'll just say this. So my problem with a lot of the rhetoric that Rev was using specifically is most Americans would not put a $10,000 bill on their family and go get that preventative care, which makes them cause cancer because they're not willing to go take that bill to put on their family, since the majority of Americans can afford $400, and that's what caused $35,000 people dying every year. Also, that thing you keep bringing up that they have to treat people if they step in, that's caused by the state. Hospitals would not treat poor people who can't pay, who just walk in, if it wasn't for the state mandating that by law. So I don't understand that as well. Also, why are we specifically talking about rural communities? What about cities? Cities also have their own poverty issues that aren't addressed by any of this. Not saying, for example, that if you live in a rural community and you're poor, you're just supported by everybody. That's just blatantly not true. I know a lot of people in the so-called flyover states, quote unquote, that would dispute that. I have a lot of family in West Virginia that would also dispute that, even though they live in the rural parts of West Virginia or just the rural parts of my own state. And finally, push the plow, Grandma. I don't understand how that's gonna work.
Yeah, I'm gonna fucking scream about that, okay? Like, do you know how bad poverty for the Russian peasantry was before the October Revolution? It was like incredibly terrible living standards for the fucking peasantry of Russia at the time. They like could not eat. They were using these all this pre-industrial equipment despite the Industrial Revolution happening like literally 50, 60 years before this. And you're just like, yes, let's let Grandma push the plow. Grandma, get out there, get off your ass, and start pushing that fucking plow. And I am going to.
Everybody's unmuted. Grandma, push the fucking plow. Okay.
Yeah, and then we hold a dome
for this. Okay.
and then we holodomed her. Okay.
Ooh, just the tanky is like slipping out. but I'm
Yeah.
trying
Well,
to
you see, the
pull him
problem
in.
comes with tankies is they're stupid. So.
I mean, we can argue about the history of the Soviet Union.
No,
if
I
you
don't
want.
care. I don't care. We're here talking about the actual topic. So basically,
Today's
social
wordy.
safety. That's yeah.
Just, it sounds like
the Soviets failed. They're dead. No one cares.
premeditative cope.
Cool. I mean, whatever.
Are
dude.
you actually a tanky?
Not really, but I can defend the tanky points. if I
Why?
have to.
That's like defending fascism. Stop
No,
it.
it's not. It's not like defending fascism.
Red
no,
fascist.
it is not.
I don't know. My anarchist.
You guys not know? Wait, do you guys not know? Can anyone here actually define fascism for me? Because if I'm doing this right now,
Ultra nationalist, highly authoritarian, large emphasis on returning to tradition, whatever I hypothesized ideal.
okay, I'll take that definition. That wasn't a bad one, but like, I just don't see how something like
Literally killing queer people, reasserting authoritarian control, highly emphasis on the nation. Sounds like a red fascist.
I don't know about you, but like doing that thing where they let women into the workforce prematurely, having people
So
come
did
out
the
progressing more than the
Italian
rest of the world was
fascists. They
pretty good.
allowed women into the workforce too. That's not an argument against it.
It's pretty based. I mean, we can talk about the actual economy of the Soviet Union from the 1950s to the
No,
1970s.
okay, we're done here. Nope, we're done.
Oh,
We're good. Let's get
My
back to the
God,
topic.
sounds like cope. Sounds like cope.
Someone's violating
Okay.
normal theory.
I didn't realize infrared rising was in the chat.
Well, I mean, if he is... Look, if I have to step up here and take on the mantle of Haas, despite no matter how much I think he's a human gorilla, and the fact that I played Wonderwall when him
That's
and I
kinda
had our
racist.
1v1 debate, that's not racist.
Wait,
Oh my god. Why did you need to say that?
Oh,
What? He's a human gorilla. Look at him.
Okay, we're done here.
No. I'm stepping up. I am
Wait,
taking
are
up
we
the
getting-
tanky man.
I'm getting Nazgul vibes here. Serious
Here.
Nazgul vibes here.
The Nazgul is coming out, okay?
Oh,
The
no,
Nazgul is coming out.
What the fuck?
Oh my god.
well,
You've unleashed the demon. You've unleashed the demon.
This is
Bro,
what
like,
happens
dude,
when you're
like, Dylan,
17
like,
and you
Dylan-
only read a Marx, okay?
And
This is
people
what happens
put-
when you're 17
And people in your chats were
Yeah,
thinking
okay.
I was psychotic.
Okay,
Okay.
so- okay.
I am
wait,
crazy.
wait.
can we pull this back?
I am
Okay.
crazy.
So-
I have an olive branch for tanky, all right? All right.
Wait, no.
Can we
everybody
not?
stop.
Let's
All
not
right,
defend
hold
the Soviet
on, no.
Union.
All right, hold on. All right. Dylan, go ahead, please.
Which one?
Reel us back in.
Which one?
Burns.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
the sane one.
So back to thank you. Back to the person I was talking to originally. So I would ask like first like what you're asking for what you're saying that people can do that requires the state to intervene. The state mandated that hospitals have to treat people if they walk in. So are you okay with that state intervention since you talked of it so favorably?
No, I didn't talk of it favorably. I just simply stated that is the case.
So would you
today.
like that repealed?
And you have, yeah, I actually would like to return to small communities taking care of each other.
So
it's fundamentally impossible.
well, so like
It's actually not, but
Agrarianism
okay,
is a failure.
Can you point to any society in human history where without government inaction, everybody was taken care of?
no, there's no, even with government interaction, one that takes
Okay,
care
what
of
about
everybody.
close? What about
You-
close? Close to everybody.
No.
Near
No.
30%, like 30% of people not take. Like, is there anything even close to like what government intervention has been able to achieve?
Yeah, I mean, almost every civilization that's done this.
Wait, you
takes
literally
care of
Well,
their
I'm
contradicted
asking.
people.
Well, okay. Well, then
Literally
name one.
Literally about the same as
Name one.
government intervention.
Name one.
The Amish. I mean, hell, they're the
No,
first
the
one
Amish
That's not a.
out
dude,
today.
they're
Wait.
worse.
To
This,
be
like-
clear.
Hey,
To be
wait,
clear.
wait,
You
wait,
can't
wait.
take my answers.
Wait.
You can't take my answers.
The Amish. Okay, that's not a okay. So you're saying the small community, right? Of the Amish, they're the society, right? So we're not gonna go by like a nation or an empire or anything like that. We're talking about something that at any time they could say, "I default. Never mind. I'm an American citizen. Give me all my government." Like they could do that.
We
Because
also have
because the thing is, many Amish people have left Amish society to get Obamacare, to get the benefits of society. The most sick and like people who are born in the Amish community with sicknesses that are inherent and they need constant medical attention, they leave the Amish community and go get American health care. They do that.
Okay.
So
also use,
so
like,
they don't.
also
So
use
that's not
modern
a thing.
infrastructure.
That's not a thing.
Like Amish people use
Okay.
like modern Amtreks to get around. Like they're not completely isolated from the outside world. They exist inside of like
You
the
do
broader.
not all.
Yeah,
There
but
are
so
some-
many. Wait, but the
And
most
no, and
prolific.
even like the Amish people, they're not like. It feels like you're arguing for anarcho-primitivism. A lot of the Amish communities, like they were using technologies. Like not every Amish commune starts from scratch and they build up to like 1840s style technology. That like they had that already. It's already like built in. Because of like their older communities, they don't just say like, "Oh, hey, like here's a commune. We suddenly magically have 1830s technology." That took, again, like you said, thousands of years to get to. What you seem to be arguing for is some flavor of like
I mean, it didn't take thousands of years.
anarcho-communalism.
They haven't been here for thousands of years. That's ridiculous.
They haven't, but human society has like they stopped using technological advancements after say like the 1840s, but they still use the ones up to then.
And even
They
even
don't believe
even
in
then,
electronics or electricity.
most Amish people,
Okay.
most Amish communities do trade with like outside parties to get things like trucks into their community, so they can do like again actual, like easier labor than what they would have to do. Like if you've ever like
Not most,
been,
some.
so many do. There's such a large portion of Amish
Why
and
do you
Mennonite
have like
communities.
this magical society in your head where like everyone's fine and you also didn't answer like other Dylan's question about specifically how do we take care of people? And you just said like there's no real example and you don't
It's
care.
not government's job to take care of people. It's
It
the
is.
community's job.
It's
No, no, no,
government.
it is.
Wait.
It
Wait,
is
so would you say the government acts on behalf of the community?
I'm sorry?
Would you say that a governing body is supposed to act in the interest of the community?
In specific cases, yes, and others, no. That we are limited in this country by our Constitution.
Okay,
Okay.
I do want
It
to.
allows
So
for
wait,
welfare.
wait,
So,
question.
like, why can't we use
What?
welfare?
What? Wait.
No,
What
no,
part
no.
of the Constitution
Wait.
said there can be
General
no universal?
welfare, not individual
Wait, hold
welfare.
on.
Is there
Hold on,
any?
hold on.
Is what part of the
Dylan
Constitution?
Burns.
Oh,
Dylan Burns, go ahead.
what part of the Constitution says that we can't have socialized medicine?
The part that says that we are taking care of general welfare, not individual welfare.
Universal healthcare
Wait,
is a general
People
welfare.
people could argue that universal health care, or for
No, it's
example, the
not.
vaccine is a
No,
great
it's not.
example
If I'm not sick,
of
is that
government-sponsored
me?
health.
If I'm not sick,
Okay.
do I need the health
you
care?
really-
Wait, okay, to
Are
be
you
clear.
this
Wait,
stupid?
okay.
Are you okay?
No,
Okay.
no,
Let's
no,
be-
no,
wait,
no,
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 let
no.
me-
You're talking.
I
No,
can't hold him down.
don't make this bullshit. Like if you're talking about taking care of the sick, that's not general welfare.
So, wait,
that's a
let
small
me ask.
portion of the population.
Let me ask, though.
That's not
Do you-
general
Virtually
wait,
every person gets sick at one time or another. What do you mean?
So, I gotta.
I haven't been in 20 years. Not
I-
enough to go to a doctor.
Well, it's
Okay.
coming
Well, let
soon,
me-
so I suggest
okay, let
you
me-
get ready
Hey,
for it.
wait,
Okay.
hey, no. As the righty, can I take this for a second?
Well, no,
All right,
I
there's,
never
look,
got
there's a misstep. There's a
Give me
misstep
just a
in
second.
everybody's
Give
philosophy
me just
here.
a second. Let me, Dylan,
I'm
go
ready
ahead.
now.
Okay.
I'm ready
Dylan,
now.
Let me.
Dylan, go ahead, and then we'll talk to
Okay.
CTV.
I just need to ask. Okay. So, it is also true though that when everybody is healthy and their medical needs are treated to, the economy benefits, the community benefits, and like everyone benefits. There are the economic benefits of people being able to get universal health care and being able to be treated so they can go and rejoin the workforce as a healthy member of society. It can be clearly shown, just like empirically through multiple like peer-reviewed studies. So that would be the general welfare. So why would it be unconstitutional for us to have that? Also, there's nothing about the Constitution that says that we can't have that. You're just talking about one part. In that part of the general
Well,
welfare
the
statement,
Constitution
the general,
literally says these are the only things it handles.
Wait,
it literally says that.
Wait, the 10th Amendment
Okay,
says
wait,
didn't
where do you-
these are the
respond to
powers of
anything I
delegates
just
to
said.
the state. It never says
Stop.
we can't take them over.
Stop. Okay. CTV, go ahead.
Well, seems like there's a whole misstep in people's philosophy here. Got a couple things. First thing, laws are written to tell you what you can't do, not what you can do. That's the philosophy of this country, right? Don't walk down the wrong side of the street. Don't fucking jaywalk. Don't speed, right? Laws. This is what laws do, right? Now, if you're setting up a program, right? Now, this is the thing that I find funny is that they sign it into law, but then like inside of it, it's not telling people what to do. It's telling people how to be able to get access to taxpayer money, essentially, right? Essentially what it does, it's a government procedure. If you meet these check boxes, check, you will gain access to said box. Well, that's not what the government was originally formed to do. Now, that's definitely a way the federal government was formed. Now, you could definitely make the argument for the state government being involved there. And I think every single part of the conversation goes by way of the 10th Amendment as to why it is that healthcare shouldn't be federal. This also goes back to what you guys were talking about earlier with regard to Social Security. That dumb shit should have never been put in place either, right? There should have never been any Social Security. None of this shit should have ever been made its way to the federal level. All of this stuff should have been kept at the state level because that, according to our Constitution, is exactly where it's supposed to be. So, since
States
we
didn't do
understand,
it, so if the states
I'm sorry.
wait.
I'm sorry. Look, Hans, next time.
Let him finish. He's talked the least since he came in here. Okay, there's a lot of cage matches. Go ahead, CTV.
So, if you are trying to structure this thing and you want to be able to help people, you've got to get it as close to the individual as possible. What you're asking for at the federal level is not its fucking job. Point blank, period, end of discussion. If you want to set it up inside your state, I, being a person that doesn't give a fuck what other states decide to do, right? Unless I'm there, and in which case, if I give enough of a fuck, I'll go get involved, right? I'm happy with other states doing other things, especially when it comes to how they deal with how they take care of their constituents. The problem is, and this is why you end up with Dylan giving the example that he gave earlier with, fuck grandma, right? Is that, and then what American Rev was saying too. Now you walk past people and you don't give a fuck. The reason why that is because there's always this push to collect more taxpayer money so that people can check down these fucking boxes, and it's supposed to be the government's job to take care of this thing. I pay my taxes. Why isn't the government taking care of this? And that right there is where the philosophy fucking breaks down, because it was never government's job to fucking do that. Community, right? Getting to know people that live around you, being involved with people, which is something that in the age of the internet seems to be lost on all of the fucking kids, right? It's not just the internet. You need to be getting involved locally with your fucking neighbors, what's going on with your county government, all of these things. And that right there is how you make the kinds of changes that you want. Trying to push it up to the federal level, it's not how you go about it. And I don't care how much you fucking type over there, buddy. It's like, are you miming over there? What the fuck are you doing?
We got a lot of hands raised. Normally, we don't get to the octagon, but I'm gonna throw the
I want to go first. I raised my hand first.
Wait, no, stop. Tiberius was trying to speak, and then I let CTV speak. So I'm gonna throw to Tiberius. We'll go to Wordy, Hans, and then Dylan. Okay.
Cool. I forgot my original point, so I'll follow up with where what I just heard. So I'm on the right, but I have a little bit of a different principle. I don't have a problem with the feds doing shit. I do believe that some of this isn't overly purviewed. Now, as an example, originally the states were supposed to do education. We've now kind of blended that between the states and the feds. Is that a bad thing or not? In some ways it is. Some ways it is, and some ways it isn't. Because I like having a general education standard across all 50 states where you can't have creationism in fucking Texas. I would appreciate that. But on the other side of that is I have to eat the downfall of this, where I watched some states underfund, I watched states completely screw up the entire point of what they're doing with their education systems, where they're teaching CRT, all this other shit. So anyway, where I'm going with this is that do I openly disagree that the state shouldn't do shit? Yeah, if you want your socialized healthcare, push it for New York, push it for New Jersey, push it for whatever blue state you're in. Prove that it works. Bring it to the federal level after that. But I'm not going to openly say federal level bad.
You're not a conservative. You're on the left.
Okay, there's a lot of people on the list. Okay, Wordy, go ahead, please.
All right, so CTV, first off, you're wrong. We create laws to do things and not to do things. The 10th Amendment specifically says any power not delegated to the federal government is delegated to the states. It never says the federal government can't take over that role. So you're fundamental.
Or to the people,
hey,
you ignorant fuck.
You're talking here. You talked, I talk, okay? But if
Get
you
her done,
talk,
CTV.
it's your turn.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did somebody call a fucking cage match, or is it you don't know how to fucking handle the fact that you were just fucking wrong?
Cage match.
Oh, so every 2 minutes we gotta call a cage match because you can't handle being in an open conversation. You feel like your opinions are important enough to be able to talk to CTV 101? Let me tell you right here from the start, they're not. They're fucking shit. You need to go back to fucking school. You need to actually get some real world experience before you start trying to step to the fucking alpha wolf. You got me?
Do you realize I'm actually
good? I'm glad that the only thing that you had to say was yes, because that's the only thing that was an acceptable fucking answer. There is no way in hell that you thought it was a good idea to get into a steel cage with CTV. Who the fuck did you think was going to show up?
No, we're done here. Okay, CTV, you don't understand the Constitution.
Okay,
You've never read the actual Constitution.
Good.
You've never read the 10th Amendment, motherfucker. You literally don't understand what the fuck you're saying.
Oh, no, we're out of the cage match, y'all, so everybody else can jump in, too. He's uncalled it. He's uncalled it. He's out. He jumped out of the cage because he was a little scary biatch. cage, right?
Maybe you should back off
You done jumped out of the cage. You
Come on,
done jumped out
maybe
of it. What are you gonna do?
in a
What are you
nursing
gonna do?
home.
You gonna
Come
jump through
on,
the screen?
you guys
Come
gotta
on,
worry
jump
about
through the
that.
screen. I love
Come on,
it.
dude. Are
Come
you
touch
really
me.
a bitch? Are you really
Oh,
such a
you
whiny
see that?
bitch?
You're
And you
seething.
literally
It
like
looks so
drink all this
beautiful.
and just, like,
Oh
feel
my
good?
God.
Does it feel good?
I love
Does it
the
feel good
way
never
that
having
you're looking
graduated
at me
from high
right now with
school?
such
Does it feel good
conviction and
having never
passion.
actually
It's obvious
does
to
it
me
feel good
that you
to
would
be
be
nothing
suckling
more
on
than
something
an
right
actual
now, and it's
cool
probably
human
not your mama's
on the
titties. You know what I'm
outside?
saying?
Oh,
Now,
you sucking on mama's titties?
what?
When was the last time
Oh,
you sucked on your
absolutely.
wife's?
She fucking loved that shit. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be over for dinner later, right? Make sure my plate's ready when I fucking get there.
Well, the next time your wife wants to have sex with you, I'll tell you.
Oh
that
wow!
you
Look at
can.
him! Look
Okay,
at this!
dude.
This
You wanna
guy
literally
probably has
say
never even
this?
got his dick wet, and he thinks he's going to bring my
Oh,
wife
you're
into a
talking about getting my
conversation.
dick wet.
This is
Dude, I probably
beautiful.
fucked more women than you have in your entire life. Okay, don't
God,
even.
we live.
I fucked
CTV's
more
in
women
his
than there were
prime.
Spartans at Thermopylae. All right, when you can get to those kind of numbers, son, then you can start trying to say something. But until
Wait,
then,
I didn't
Where
realize
did
you
you
like.
come up
I didn't
with
realize
this?
you were fucking with your fellow military vets. Okay, like it sounds like you're spending more time with the military vets than the actual women, dude. Like you really like these arguments.
that's the extracurricular activities, and trust me, you're nowhere near ready for that. Okay.
Like,
All right, well, your big
little bit
stomach gut says
homophobic,
otherwise.
that's
Okay.
That's a fuel tank for a love machine. That means I got stamina, son. I can stay in the game.
Yeah, the larger your fuel tank gets, the smaller your
As a
gas
matter of
pipe
fact,
gets.
the larger your ass is, the harder the pound is whenever you're fucking putting it in there.
So what
right?
you're
'Cause
telling me
got
is your
some weight
gut is
behind
your
it.
ass?
So the fact
Yeah,
of the
is that
matter
why
is that
shit
you don't
comes
even
out of you all the
understand
time? Because you
body
don't even know what to do.
physiology and
CTV
how it
just
works
say he
with
has a
regard
big
to the
ass.
sexual nature of things that you would attempt to try to talk with me at. But the fact of the matter is, son, is that you are
Man,
nowhere
you talk
near
a
ready
lot,
for
gang,
that
but
level of
I haven't-
conversation either. So I don't even know why you're even bothering to try right now. It's absolutely fucking sad that you thought you were going to jump into a steel cage, jump back out, then jump back in like it was
I
going to
never
mean
jumped out
something
of
to
the
second
steel
back
cage,
around.
dude. You're the
This
one
is
trying to take it
hilarious.
out. You're
This is
literally saying, "Hey, I'm jumping
hilarious.
out." I'm like, dude,
You
I'm
know
trying
why
to talk
people
to you, but
invite
then you
us
come back
to
like
this
raising
thing?
your
Because they
voice.
know that
You
you're
really
not
want to say
ready.
all this shit?
They already
Come
know.
on, dude. Are you literally this much of a
Are
bitch?
you going to give me anything to work with? I'm literally listening to you and
Wait.
talking shit at the same time, and I'm not getting any new material from you to be able
Well,
to
you
clown
haven't
you
gotten
on.
new material since 1994, old boomer.
I've got look. The reality of the situation is that all of the material that you've been intaking was first created during my generation, and it's been fucking recycled over the years. And you think it's
well,
fucking
if it was
new.
created
I
during your
picked up some
generation,
other
I heard
shit
the
through the
stone
fucking
wheel was
90s
pretty
that you haven't even
useful.
fucking bothered.
What happens?
Wolf
Do you feel
pack.
nice to like be the only icon of Dylan Burns' program and not actually anything useful?
The only icon in Dylan Burns' panel? Are you shitting me?
Yeah,
you even pay
all
attention
you
to the
do is
cast
yell
of
at people.
characters
You
that
don't
comes by
provide
there?
anything useful.
Really? You think that's what happens?
Pat.
Yeah, because you hop in just like this
Wolfpack.
American Octagon. You don't actually say anything. You
Uh-huh.
just yell at people.
I just yell at people. Nothing else happens?
Yeah, you yell at
Are
people,
you sure?
drink, and then
Have
like
you heard
say
about
like
the
just
drug
sexual
war?
powers.
Have you heard about the drug war?
Yeah, I've heard about the drug war. I've
Oh,
heard
of
about
course you heard about the
academic
drug
people.
war. You know why? Because CTV took that fucking conversation.
Dude, I
and he
went to
painted-
college,
Look, I
okay?
even had
I heard
motherfuckers
about
ask
this
me
shit
how
before you
mainstream
even, like-
music was fucking attached to the drug war, and I was able
No,
to tie
you
it
had to
back.
listen
You're
to a
not ready
college
for the
dude
level of
tell you about the
conversation.
drug war,
You're
and then you
fucking
literally had to say,
crazy.
"Oh, I've created the drug war." Turns out CTV
You know who
likes to
you
take
remind me
ownership
of?
of everything.
You remind me of Charmhole, right?
Charmhole?
Yeah, you remind me of Charmhole.
Oh,
right?
damn.
Okay. Well, you remind me of a boomer that I work in a nursing home. Okay, maybe you should go there, old man.
Well, it sounds to me like the boomer in the nursing home is definitely going to have a lot more clever and interesting things to say than the
Oh, they are
relationship
absolutely
that
more
you
interesting
obviously
than
tie
anything you could
to
ever say.
Charmhole
okay?
here.
I
right?
know you. There's a
Right,
certain
you don't
dude
even
who
know
The
what
likes to
Charmhole
complain about
Charmhole is.
his-
the
You're sitting there
Charmhole
I know who
reference.
Charmhole is. I
Do
talked to the fucker. He was an idiot, okay? I know who he is, just like you are, okay? You literally just go sit in a nursing home, go get an assisted living, literally go get your Medicaid so you can actually like do your job and get off your ass, okay?
Do my job and get off my. You have no idea what it is that I do on a day-to-day basis. Anyway, this is why you're
Hey, you
woefully
stream
unprepared
for
to have the
16 hours a
conversation.
day and drink every day.
See, you know what? How about this? I'm going to give you a little tip. Go to www.twitchtracker.com, type in critically thinking veteran. You'll see how many days that I stream or how many hours I stream per day, and you'll see that the numbers that you just gave me are
Wolfpack.
woefully fucking away from what I actually stream, right? I
Oh,
stream
so what
maybe
you're
3-4
telling me is-
hours in the evenings. I get together with the Wolfpack. We have a good fucking time over here. Lots of laughs. They are laughing their ass offs at you
All
right
but-
now, and the lack of intelligence that has been
Well,
being shown
when
here
you go
tonight.
by
As a
the
matter of
wolf-
fact, every
when
other
you go by
chat
the
that
wolf
is
pack, you
listening
have no
right now
intelligence.
is loving hearing you be the after meal of the fucking Pringles and fucking turkey and cheese sandwich that I ate a minute ago, right? You're just a fucking snack right now. That's all you are.
All right. With that being said, said. Man, what a period exclamation to end that one on. Okay, holy shit. Lots of ageism, lots of ad homs, dude. I love it. All right, everybody's on mute now. Everybody can hop back in. This is the Octagon, okay? That's a cage match, okay, Dylan. This is where the cage match came from. Okay?
Oh yeah, and wait, CTV's a staple of what show? Oh yeah. Anyway.
And on that note, we should end it.
Let me just say quick. Wait, I gotta. Wait, I just gotta say quickly. You said that there was rules here, and you said that anything TOS was banned. So why did you just let CTV murder that man live on stream?
Hey, listen, man. Look, I didn't realize that was gonna happen. Okay, I couldn't mute it fast enough. Okay, I couldn't censor this. Things
You
happen when
encouraged
when
it.
it's live.
This is irresponsible platforming. How dare you?
Let's go back to the hand raises, I guess, right? I don't know.
Oh my god.
I don't know
No,
about
you're
you.
not. You said you loved it and you enjoyed it. I'm taking you to court, sir.
I don't know about you, but I think we should end on the note of CTV just being an absolute menace to society and call it a day.
As an alpha wolf in the wolf pack, or Sigma, I believe it's Sigma. I overrule you when it comes to CTV guidelines, so we have to go back to the people raising hands.
All right, well, I can't really argue with that.
The American Octagon has been co-opted. It is no longer here. It is now the hippy dippy Octagon. Let's go, boys.
Aggressive expansion.
Oh shit! I didn't know Dylan Burns was in favor of annexation. All right, cool.
Oh, sorry, man. I'm just riding the ecstasy of that cage match, man. I can't even.
Wait, ecstasy? Are you a sadist? Like, wait,
We're talking about the drug war, but like specifically, I still heard them. Like, I put my headphones down. I heard them while I was moving the couch. They were so loud. Like, it just.
Why would you make the mistake of bringing up the drug war to the Alpha Wolf, man? I mean, look, I'm supposed to be the moderator. I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can, but there's just things that we all know. Okay,
So,
we're all in the space together.
I can drag it back into the topic. Okay, so none of us in here, as I know, are lawyers or legal experts, right? And so I don't know if I trust anybody's opinion or interpretation of the Constitution over anybody else's. But what I can say is I do trust the Supreme Court to a certain degree and the American Bar Association when it comes to legal expertise. So I'm just going to cite the American Bar Association here. Creating medical care for all Americans is a policy choice, not a legal matter. Decades of litigation provide solid constitutional support for alternative ways to achieve universal health care. The tax and spend power of Congress is the foundation for traditional Medicare. A federal-state partnership, Medicaid, which provides medical insurance to some groups of people, is fine as long as the federal government does not coerce the states into doing something that states oppose. In the Big Affordable Care Act, ACA case, NFIB versus Sububalus, 567, U.S. 519-2012, the court ruled that the federal government cannot mandate you to buy insurance, but it can tax you if you don't. Paying for medical care directly through the government-owned and government-operated facilities like the U.S. Department of VA Affairs, which, if we're saying that we can't have this at all, we'd have to completely get rid of the VA and leave our veterans high and dry, or indirectly through community health center grants is well established. The government can set schedules. Congress made the policy choice to prohibit Medicare from negotiating or settling prices when it created the Medical Prescription Drug Program in 2005. The constitutional basis for a universal health care coverage policy will almost certainly remain, even if the Supreme Court were to declare the ACA unconstitutional based on the theory that individual mandate was central to the whole scheme, California v. Texas. If what you guys are saying is true, take it to the courts. They'll laugh you out the room.
I just want to say I'm not a man, so you can't murder the non-binary agenda.
Oh, fuck Christ.
On the fact of who's in the Supreme Court and which way they lean, left or right, determines what their judgment will be. Says enough about whether that's to be trusted or not.
Can you point me to any court in this country which would agree with you? Any court, not Supreme Court, a district court, even Republican-appointed district courts, any of them, any single one.
Any constitutionalist judge will agree with that.
Really? So you think Amy Coney Barrett agrees with you? Because she doesn't.
I wouldn't say she's a constitutionalist judge.
Then
true constitution.
Wait. So who is the true constitutionalist judge then? Because Amy Coney Barrett, by basically everybody's standards, is a constitutionalist, if you want to call her that. Who is the constitutionalist judge then that you would trust?
Scalia.
The Supreme Court of this guy's minivan, or what? Like,
by the way, Scalia would also disagree. Basically, anybody who's been on the Supreme Court would disagree with you. So, which judge? Because it's
I have to actually look that up.
Okay, no worries.
Epic, yes, epic and great. And now let's Let's all call it a night because everybody's been out alphaed by the alpha wolf. So
Yeah,
I
alcohol
actually
feeding
do
from
got to
this.
go to bed. I got to be at work early in the morning. So
Yeah,
like, if we're
we
doing
all-
closers, can I go first?
Yeah.
'Cause I kinda have to dip.
We can wrap this up. We're on the way anyways. Yeah. Do
Take
you
me
want to wrap this up?
second.
Does anybody else have anything to say? Do we have any questions?
yeah, let me
wanted
close
to,
second.
I wanted to take issue with or CTV trying to excise me from the right. Like that was kind of rude, sir. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, because you're trying to push everything up to the federal government. That's not conservative.
no,
That's
no,
not
no.
right at all.
Okay,
Not with
well,
this-
no,
Especially
no.
when it comes to education. Why is it that you give two flyings of a fuck if Texas decides that it wants to teach creationism, right, while also teaching science in the way of biology and physics and
Like
like
teaching
all of the other fucking practices? And I'm sorry, mister, I wanted to get a cage match with CTV, but found out it was a bad fucking idea. I'm sitting there
I
talking
fucked
to
the entire
Tiberius,
thing,
right?
dude.
I'm talking to
Wolf
Tiberius.
pack!
I ain't talking to your fucking chewed up
Wolf
ass,
pack!
okay? So
All right.
so Tiberius, that right there's the deal, right? Like why should the only thing that should matter between the states, I mean, if a whole fucking state wanted to teach its people that the earth is flat, I personally don't have a fucking problem with that. The only thing that if there's going, and no, even then, I don't feel like it needs to be a law at the federal government level because all of the states are part of this union and they would want their people to be educated on how the government actually works because they themselves are part of the union, right, as a state, and they would be wanting to teach their constituent state how this government structure between the city and the county and the state up to the federal government, right? So, like, why is it that the federal government needs to be involved in education at all? Because there are some very common sense things that would be taught, and those are the things that I would want people to fucking know. And whether or not they believe the earth is flat or fucking round, or they believe in Jesus, or they believe in the motherfucking Easter Bunny, right? Or they think that, what's that fucking, that poo from fucking South Park? What's
Can I
his name?
reply to this?
What's his
Can I
name?
come back at you a little
We have
bit?
to address. Wait,
That's
we
right,
have to
Mr.
address.
Hanky, right? If they want to teach all their kids that Mr. Hanky, the Christmas poo, jumps out of the fucking toilet every fucking Christmas to deliver Christmas goo to all the boys and girls, right? Then let them fucking do that. Doesn't actually matter. Anyway, Tiberius, go ahead.
Yeah, wait,
Nacho, real quick.
Sprout is
Nacho, I-
watching his own show, so I want to let him speak. Yeah, go ahead.
Sprout.
Hey,
Looking good, dude.
I just wanted to personally come on. I wanted to personally come on and thank Mr. Dylan Burns for coming on the show that has the authentic cage match, not the knockoffs that have been created on other shows. Okay, so I wanted to personally come on and thank Dylan Burns for coming on this show.
Wait a minute. Did you
What?
really
Okay.
just not even give a shout out to CTV? Did you really
Oh my
do that?
God.
You
Damn.
I'll talk to you
unappreciative
later. Don't
fuck.
worry
The
about it.
only reason why your cage match has any validity is because I'm the one that motherfucking set the tone for it, right? So unless you're showing some love my fucking way, we're gonna have a big fucking problem. You got that, Mr. Puppet Master?
Don't worry about
I
that,
don't give a
CTV.
fuck.
Hey, Sprout, look. CTV and me, not only did I steal the cage match idea, me and him, we just stole the show as well. What else can we steal from you?
You know what? You know what? Once I get back, I'm coming back with a vengeance. All right.
yeah, I'm sure
I'm
you
not
will.
gonna come back and sit. I'm not gonna come back
He's
and
gonna
sit still.
stop again.
I'm not gonna come back and pretend like this didn't happen. Don't worry. I'll keep this in the back of my mind, and we will remember this when I get back. But until then, you guys have a great one.
Have a
Hey,
good one.
see,
Hit the gym, Sprout. Try to
All
hold
right,
down
can I reply back to CTV here?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
To the gym.
Okay, number one, I don't
We
fancy
need
myself.
to fight this together, okay?
Yeah. Anyway,
Jesus.
so look, I do consider myself a right winger, but I do not consider myself a conservative. Conservatives want to just kind of hold on to the past and they want to just kind of roll with it. It's like the Constitution can't change, can't move, can't do anything right. No, I'm not okay with that. So here's the real. You say you don't have a problem with like some state, Alaska, it doesn't matter, is teaching flat Earth. I have a serious fucking problem with that. And I want at least a unitary system that is on the federal level that's made between Republicans and Democrats as a common sense compromise to say, hey, look, this is the general standard for the nation. And when we say that we're going to teach our kids this is acceptable and this is not what is acceptable. Is that going to be a political fight from fucking hell? Absolutely. But it needs to be had. It needs to be common sense, common sense and common purpose. And it needs to be outlined for all 50 states as a guideline. Doesn't mean they have to do it all. Doesn't mean they have to fund it. Doesn't have to do all that shit. But I want that as a general purpose instrument. And if that makes me an anti-conservative, fine. I don't really like the label anyway. If that makes me anti-right wing, well, I don't know how the right wing is going to fucking function going into the future.
Fact of the matter is that the further you go right or left, you end up in the same place, which is total government control. right? And this is exactly where like this is how it works, right? Here is no government and chaos, right? There's nothing, right? And then over here on the other end, there's complete government control. Somewhere, depending on how you land on this thing, you're going to end up on one of these two kind of spectrums, right? See, for me, the line just goes straight up. I think there needs to be this much government control, right? At the federal level. Then at the state level, there needs to be this much control, right? And then at the county level, right? Here, right? Until like when you get to the city, right? Then like these most stringent of fucking rules that you might have, which might have something to do with your ability to carry a firearm openly, right? In a city. I don't actually have a problem with that. I think that in cities that concealed carry for for protection should be fucking acceptable, because are you going to go hunting deer in fucking New York City? Well, not unless you fucking time traveled and warp streamed yourself into fucking I Am Legend, right? And you're running around with Will Smith trying to avoid the fucking trying to avoid the zombies, right? Besides that, this is how these things work. And they work this way for a very specific reason, because the closer you keep the power to the individual, the easier it is to remove the power from government. That's the fact of the matter, because as soon as you give power to a much higher up government level, it now requires a greater amount of constituents, right? And in the case of the federal government, across several fucking states before you can ever get anything changed. Fact of the matter is, the federal government has not been operating the way it should have been operating for the last 100 fucking years.
Okay, so I don't agree, I agree with 80% of that, right? Is that the question I have to ask you is that if I'm the federal government and I have set out a guideline, it's like, all right, you have to teach education, and there's certain things that you can teach, and there's certain things that you cannot teach, right? Does that mean that the federal government has openly took on the entire scope of that project? Does it mean it worries about the administration? Does it worry about the funding? Does it worry about what teachers are hired, what pay raises they have, any of that shit? I mean, we can put that in the code, but I'm not advocating for that. I'm advocating like, hey, dude, this is the guidelines. You can teach this, and that, or you need a certain amount of electives, that kind of thing. Just general basic guidelines from the federal government. And if you want to have your healthcare done by each state, if you want to have, your roads done by each state, municipality, 100% okay with that. We do pretty good with it right now.
So what was the question again?
So the question is, sorry, I thought I made that pretty clear. The question was, you didn't. Okay, the question was that if I give you general guidelines, does that mean that I've openly taken too much power in the hands of the federal government when they give a guideline?
Okay, well, guidelines, right, are not law. Whenever you start making law and then it applies equally to all of the states, then yeah, you've overstepped your bounds.
Okay,
especially
then
in
we
something
just
like
absolutely
education.
disagree on this one, man. Like, I get where you're coming from, I really do, but like, you've got to set a tone, you got to set a standard, because while you have your limited communities as a municipality or a county or a state, is that we have an institution that is the federal government that is representative as the body whole. And we need to have common sense, not common sense, but common sense and common purpose in what we agree on and how we operate. If we're just like, hey, you know what, this guy over here can have can teach the doctrine of wham bamboozle, and this guy over here is teaching like socialism, like, holy shit, dude, no,
the fact
this
of
is
the
not
matter
okay.
is that every single argument that you guys have been laying out tonight with regard to costs and how you need to collect more money, et cetera, all you're pushing towards is complete government control. As soon as you start it here and you're like, okay, Social Security is an all right thing. We need to set this up for future generations of America. It'll be such a great thing. What's happened since its inception? It's gotten to the point now to where
in elderly poverty.
Extreme
Jesus
reduction
Christ.
of elderly poverty and elderly homelessness.
Yeah, so what it's done, right,
And
is
you
that this
poverty.
little bit of
You're just
social,
gonna keep going, Dylan.
this little bit that was pushed into government, what it did is it increased the amount of taxes that they could start pulling from the people, and then stop actually providing the fucking benefits over time, and it's gotten less and less, right? And then now we're to the point now to where it's not even going to be able to fund itself in the future, because there are so many other government programs that were created, right, to go, oh yeah, well, I think we should be doing this. Oh yeah, well, I think we should be doing this. Oh yeah, I think we should be doing this, right? And then all these other little branches get bought off, because there was the initial idea that this was a good thing at the federal level, and now it costs too fucking much money. But then, like, you get because of the Federal Reserve, you're just going to go ahead and quantitatively ease, fucking billions of fucking dollars or trillions of fucking dollars into the economy that's not even been earned yet, right? And the fact of the matter is that we've had an entire generation of kids that don't know what it is to earn something, because they were all given a fucking participation trophy.
Every dollar we have in deficit is another dollar into the economy. Everything you're saying is contradictory.
No, do not do this multiplier effect bullshit, dude. It doesn't fucking go that well. It really doesn't.
Well,
Like,
every dollar we've spent is the dollar into the economy, Tyree.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that the dollar circulates forever or that it actually.
The dollar doesn't circulate.
Okay.
Do you know where it goes? It's
Yeah, like-
Even a real fucking dollar.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
my
Well, I'm not.
God.
No.
Okay, nobody
God.
cares.
Wow.
Well,
It's
no,
a
it's a
fight
digital
dollar
dollar, guys.
currency.
Yeah, the British banks
Hey,
control everything. I understand. Yeah.
No,
Tiberius,
it's a digital dollar. It's counted on computers. Nobody.
British
nobody
banks now? Is
actually-
that the new euphemism?
Every
Alright.
dollar is fake.
start fucking meeting everybody that talks, okay?
I'd like to hear from
All right.
American Rev. He hadn't talked in a while.
That's fine. But Tiberius was speaking, and then Dylan, and then we'll go to American, okay?
Okay.
Tiberius,
So
go ahead.
yeah, the problem I have with this doctrine is that if literally government spending was the be all end all of the solution, that we literally would never have a recession, right? Is that yes, you can spend money, but sometimes it goes further, and sometimes it doesn't go far at all. We have to figure out what actually works, what doesn't, and goes about that. Now, granted, I've said that many times all over again, but no, I'm not buying into this bullshit of that we can just spend money forever and ever and always, and it's just ever going to be okay. It doesn't fucking work, guys. I'm sorry.
We literally pulled back regulations and we saw recessions, dude.
I didn't
Like,
say regulations
Okay.
were bad, dude. Like, what the fuck?
We need to go. We need to go. Some people are trying to leave, okay? We can hang out here after. I'll be here for just a minute. But, okay. Dylan Burns, go ahead.
Okay. So, what I'm going to say is I'm heading out, okay? You guys had a great show. I'm going to raid into CTV because I support the Wolf Pack. No, I support it.
Thanks.
And he's doing great work. Everything he said, even if I disagreed with him, is correct. Because he's CTV, Wolfpack, Alpha Work, or whatever. As for everyone else, I also think we could find some middle ground today. Here's my compromise, okay? Government-sponsored plows for grandma, so she can die in the dirt while doing the plow work, okay? That is my compromise. I think we can all come together on that. I think that's protected, by the way, by the government's ability to tax, same clause, so it's constitutional, too. You can all have a good one. You guys have a good night. Go hang out in CTV chat. Go rate them. Throw the emotes. See you guys Friday for the Hippy Dippy. Happy to steal the show and happy to steal the cage match. Might as well call it the Hippy Dippy Octagon now, and I'll trademark it so I can copyright strike this stream.
now.
Okay. So once I copyright cage match, I'm gonna copyright.
Get your lawyers,
Sprout.
okay?
Yep. Okay. See you later.
All right, brother.